Hello and welcome to season 2 of Piano Lessons. We are very excited that this season is going to feature some of our partners in the H3 network, and we'll come on to H3 a little bit later. But we'd love to introduce Gidon Ross. Pleasure to have you join us.
Hi, Phil.
What we wanted to say is sort of we're incredibly honoured to firstly have you on our first episode of season 2. Harris Trotter, are a firm we have admired from afar, and then as we've got to know you, sort of admired from a closer distance, and the manner in which you've conducted yourself, within this ecosystem goes without saying. But would love to start with just hearing a little bit more about you guys, and obviously about yourself as well.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure to be invited onto the podcast at the start of your season 2 of it. I suppose just a bit of background about me. I'm one of the partners at Harris Trotter on the digital assets side of the practice. Been with the firm for around 2.5 years now, and been partner here for coming up to 2 years. My background is trained and qualified at PwC, stuck around there for a couple of years post-qualification, and wanted to change. In terms of H&T, we are probably one of the I think leading professional service providers on the audit, accounting, and bookkeeping within the digital asset space. Our clients include the likes of Wintermute Trading, The Sandbox, Mercurio, P2P Staking, Bitfury, and so on. And our expertise ranges from kind of your core statutory audit work to kind of the transaction advisory, the tax structuring, and the more in-depth bookkeeping for the highly complex nature of the digital asset world.
Complex is definitely putting a light spin on it. I'd imagine you guys have seen a huge amount of increase in work and complexity and variety over the last couple of years.
Yes, certainly. I think as time goes on, especially kind of I think we saw a quite drastic change kind of in the aftermath of FTX. I think prior to that point, there was a kind of the workload. It was more seen as, I think, optional. If a company that was registered in one of the offshore territories wanted to perform some bookkeeping work, they did so. But generally, they didn't see the necessity or requirement for maintaining their records. However, in the aftermath of that, there's been a definite shift towards maintaining accurate and complete records, and actually not just maintaining them, but actually improving in the transparency of those records. So a big shift towards audit readiness and statutory audit. In the majority of cases, on a completely voluntary basis. I suppose on the technical and complexity side of things, as in we deal with some clients with many millions of transactions in every single day, and accounting for that sort of mass volume of data is incredibly complex and technical. And whereas kind of in your traditional finance world, you'd have a team of maybe 100 staff working in the accounting function. In the digital asset world, we find that you've got maybe 2 or 3 max dealing with that volume of transactions. So the complexity definitely falls into kind of how do you automate the process as much as possible, but not just automation of the process. It's how do you deal with the niche blockchains and the niche protocols that clients are engaging with to ensure that all the data is accurately pulled into the ERP and accounted for correctly.
So how on earth do you do that with huge amounts of transactions across many, many chains, with tokens that no one's ever heard of before, with different valuations, and just all sorts of weird and wonderful complexity around these transactions, even within and across these chains? That's pretty specialist, and it's a huge amount of volume. How on earth do you manage to stay on top of all this?
So I'd say largely it comes down to the team that we've got in-house now. Our digital assets side of practice has grown drastically over the last 18 months or so. And we've gone from kind of like a 5-person team 2 years ago to now having 32 full-time majority chartered accountants or overseas equivalents dealing with our clients. The specialty amongst the team as well. We've got a number of coders as well on the team that help us kind of like dealing with those niche blockchains, developing scripts and other code to assist with the bookkeeping and the accounting of the data.
That's incredible growth. I mean, I'm always fascinated, but because having been through the journey ourselves internally, when we started in this space in 2015, and remember very well the internal conversations I had to have to sort of get to where we are today. H&T over 80 years old, I think. So you will have some traditional partners, albeit you've always had a sort of interesting niche. How did you find when you came in sort of 2.5 years ago, and with a much smaller practice, how did you find the sort of the internal acceptance of what you wanted to do and the risk profile, and how did those internal conversations go? I'm always interested to know what the process was that you went through.
I'd say it's not just a historic process that we've gone through, first taking on the early stage digital asset clients. It's also it's an ongoing process that I think as time goes on, the exposure of the clients that we end up engaging with grows significantly. So we've got conversations ongoing at the moment with your the equivalent of your top FTSE 100 type companies or top NASDAQ type companies. And I think the traditional partners do see it as incredibly high risk, not just on the risk of the opinion that we're issuing, but also on the public exposure. As we've seen with other auditing firms, it's not just specifically what they're signing off on. It goes down to actually, even if you're not the work that has been performed isn't what's being pulled apart and isn't what's being criticised. It's the reputational damage that occurs as a result of that. So it's an ongoing challenge, but I think the partners across the majority of the firm do, I think, accept the opportunity from the space. They generally do accept as well, or they are quite forward-thinking with regards to the technology that we've delivered, built in-house, as well as the technology amongst the digital asset space. And we all see it as this is the future.
Okay, so all of us on this call, we've grown up with this market from 2015, 2016 onwards. We've seen numerous cycles. We're kind of the OGs without being too boastful. I think that's an accurate description. How is it now with the junior talent coming through? How are you finding them? What are you looking for? And what are you finding in terms of their appetite and their development and their enthusiasm for this space and really being a part of it?
So I think what we're looking for in terms of our junior talent that comes in is we're majority of the time we're looking for people with the either with the in-depth technical audit and accounting knowledge, ideally ex Big Four trained. So the majority of our team has come through either the Big Four or BDO within the UK or overseas. And it's incredible, and we're always surprised with the talent that we're able to attract to the firm. But then in terms of also on the graduate side, we are attracting some incredible graduates from a variety of universities. And again, their knowledge and experience within the space is fairly immense. So we with the graduates, we're looking for those with the ability and those with the interest in digital assets and with the ability to demonstrate their how they can apply their knowledge in different use cases.
That makes a lot of sense, and I think we find, certainly Mark and I have found more and more that people are asking about this space. So at a certain more junior level, actually, it's a real weakness not to be able to offer something in this space, because there is a real interest and understanding and desire to see this as part of the sort of learning that the more junior end of the market want to do that. It's fantastic that you're building out this hub, this sort of learning center to allow people to do that. Where do you hope to take it? You've obviously got an incredibly impressive offering already, but what's the grand master plan in your head anyway? How far do you want to take this?
Our plan is essentially carry on growing the client base, carry on growing the team. We don't want to just stop at where we are now. We've got the traction, we've got the ability to recruit top quality candidates and top quality individuals. And our plan is to continue growing and try to capitalise on as much of the market as possible. I think we are somewhat uniquely positioned in the market whereby we don't have. So a lot of the larger firms, so top 10 and Big Four specifically, they're part of the international network and therefore require the global leadership sign-off in order to accept new client engagements. However, we are a medium-sized firm in the UK based in London, and our leadership team is comparatively very small, and therefore we don't need the same level of sign-off. However, saying that, we are a member of the BKL International Network, and therefore we do have the ability to deliver on a completely global service. So if you need a statutory audit delivering in Singapore, for example, we've got a member firm within Singapore that can deliver on that, utilising the expertise of my team based in London.
So if you look at what's happened post-FTX, we've seen certain service providers move away from the market where they previously were and didn't always leave the clients in the best position. We've seen service providers really lean into this, and that's what I'm really excited by. We've had an incredibly busy start to the year. There's been a huge amount of buzz and also a lot more maturity, I think, in terms of business processes and thinking and growth and expansion on the client and project side. Is it more important now than ever, do you think, to have the right service providers, or can we still kind of swing by through the skin of our teeth, maybe have a couple of lawyers here and there, maybe a couple of accountants, and kind of get them off the ground and then just run things on the CT, mixing my metaphors up, run things on a sort of fly-by-night basis and just kind of hope it all works out? Or do we really need to kind of look now at proper advisors, a proper team, and long-term growth and stability for this to all work?
Yeah, no, I think certainly on the service provider point, I think we've been through the period of kind of like high growth and low quality, and we've seen the outcome of that. We've seen the number of kind of large companies within the space failing for a variety of reasons, and that largely falls down to poor internal controls, poor advice that they've taken, which has resulted in the lack of transparency, the lack of reporting, and the lack of formalisation of the ongoing operations of the entity. Therefore, we see it as critical to make sure that any company engaging in space has got the right accountants and auditors on board, because there's no point going to a small shop that will happily sign off on the figures blind. You need that niche understanding of the technology of the transactions that are going through to accurately represent what the company is sitting, what has gone through the P&L during the year, and the same goes down to lawyers as well, because what we see is around the world the regulatory environment is only going in one direction, and therefore, again, taking on poor advice, you're going to be opening up yourselves to issues. So we see it as critical for the future success of the industry.
And sort of finally, with all clients in this space being seemingly some form of digital nomad, or certainly having teams that are very well spread sort of geographically, in terms of people watching this and saying they'd love to speak to you, who are you ideally looking for? Who would you love to get in contact? Who can you help? Where would they be based? What's the ideal project? How do you see it in terms of your target market?
So our target market is, ideally, we are looking for the larger entities within the space. However, that doesn't mean just because you're a startup, well-backed startup, that we can't assist you as well. So if you are an early day startup, you've received the seed funding, or you've had the commitments from your investors, we can assist you with the structuring of the entity, ensure that you are connected to the right providers, so I suppose within the H3 network, to ensure that you've got the best groundwork to go forwards.
So, I mean, thank you ever so much for giving up. I know how incredibly busy you are at the moment, so thank you for giving up your time. Lovely to speak to you. Really excited about the year ahead, actually. I think both Mark and I are pretty bullish on what 2024 has in store for it. It'll have bumps in the road, as we always expect, but look forward to sort of navigating those with you. Great to see you. Great to see you as well, Mark.